You're listening to Welcome to Eloma, a podcast for highly ambitious dreamers who get shit done. I'm your host, Kiley Peters. This is a space where we talk about sourcing products and building vendor relationships. So for those of you who may not know, I am getting married October 1st this year. And in planning our wedding, we're very intentional about supporting as many women business owners as we could. So we're very excited. Today we're in one of the series episodes where we're featuring one of our women business owners that's supporting us on our big day. Today's guest is Amanda Mattefs, CEO of Charcuter-Me and Apricity, a creative agency. We hired Charcuter-Me because they have the most amazing charcuterie grazing tables and platters. Like they're just a work of art, like a straight up work of art. And if you love fancy foods and just foods in general, like me, everyone should check them out. And if we weren't a 2.5-hour drive away, we would have totally hired them to bring over a full-blown grazing table. But because we're bringing over a number of different platters for our wedding. So we're jumping into something today that I don't know that much about in terms of sourcing products, but Amanda does because this is what she does. Let's dive in to what it takes to run such a beautiful boutique business. Welcome to Eloma, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me. And thanks for such a kind intro. And we're really excited for your wedding. I'm excited to make those.
I've told all of my guests about, I just had my bachelorette party and I was telling everybody about, I brought up Instagram and everything and showed them your account. And I was like, these are the platters we're having. And they're like, oh my gosh, they're so beautiful. I was like, I know. You should just at minimum follow them. It's gorgeous. It's like food porn. It's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate the support.
Of course. Amanda, let's get into it. So you started Charcuter-Me during COVID, which we know a lot of businesses started during COVID, which is a very unique time in life, right? So tell me a little bit about the inspiration behind the business.
So as you kind of said in your intro, I own both Charcuter-Me and Apricity, which is a creative agency. It's a graphic design company I've owned for 7 years. So I'm a graphic designer by trade. And so my brain kind of already works in a creative way. So it all kind of started in fall of 2019. I get together with my family a lot. You'll kind of hear as we talk more, this is very family oriented and I'm very supported by them. And we get together a lot and they said, hey, Amanda, can you contribute to these family events? And I'm not the greatest cook in the world. And they said, can you bring something? So I said, we're in the land of cheese here in Wisconsin, obviously, and everyone loves it. And I can remember charcuterie boards, meat and cheese boards being at every family gathering growing up. And I said, I'll bring a charcuterie board. I think I can throw one together. And I saw them online and social media and I put one together. And after that, they said, you need to bring this to every kind of event going forward. And that was leading into 2020. And eventually they said, you should start selling these. And I said, no. I'm so grateful that I've been an entrepreneur for about 7 years already. Mm-hmm. And I have a flexible schedule. And, I've been able to kind of carve out and craft how my life has kind of gone. And I said, no, that's, I already have one business. I'm good. And then the pandemic hit and it forced, as it did everybody, to slow down. And, I work to travel. That's what I really love to do. And I couldn't do that. And at that moment, I thought, you know what, there are so many now, given the pandemic, to-go options that people are seeking out, right? We had to start ordering food in and ordering food in. And I thought to myself, why don't I maybe give this a go and give people in the community another option of something to bring into them to kind of enjoy on a date night. That's a little bit more of an elevated snack, right? Because we were all doing it. I was ordering food all the time. And we also wanted to support at that time as many local businesses as we can because it was so tough for businesses to stay in business, And so I said, maybe this is something the community could be beneficial. And so given my graphic design background, that's kind of where, I think my brain, it translated from the computer to the charcuterie board. And I just started, and I was able to build my own website because of that. And I'm just so grateful that I had all these tools in this box of marketing and graphic design to build my brand for Charcuter-Me. And, with the encouragement of my family, and my sister Molly she's very organized and was very, encouraging to start this business, and was like, I'll help you, let's just see if we can do this. And so we launched in August of 2020. And it was so great because at the time also I knew I needed a commercial kitchen. I reached out to, people in the community, and they were so grateful. They're like, there's a space within this, downtown in Cathedral Square. You can probably use a little bit of this already existing kitchen. And another food truck was already working out of this space. So it was kind of shared, and things kind of fell into place. And I'm so grateful that I had to slow down during that moment, because truly otherwise this business, and I think I'm so grateful for, what it's brought me and connecting into the community. Like that never would have been born had that not happened.
Well, isn't that such an interesting idea? Like entrepreneurship, we go, 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 go. I think that's like the default nature, but I think that is like the silver lining. If there is a silver lining of COVID, is like, it did force everyone to slow down. And so often when we take that time to slow down or rest or relax or actually take a vacation, we have like those renewed creative energies and those juices flowing. And like so much can be brought from slowing down. It sounds so like obvious, but also like counterintuitive at the same time.
Absolutely. And I feel like, here just in America in general, we work and work and work and work until we, can't see anymore, can't see.
So we're totally burnt out.
It is true. And I think a benefit of having traveled a lot of places, the rest of the world doesn't have that mentality. And so I've tried to adapt this work-life balance in being an entrepreneur. It does, there is this element of, you have to hustle so hard for it. But then there's the positive of it too, is you get this flexibility and this ability to kind of carve out time for yourself. And then you do, again, like you said, you realize the importance of taking a step back and just giving yourself a break. And, I think about that with COVID, because it was so detrimental to so many people. And yet in some other elements, something positive did come out, I think, in certain aspects. Like you said, there were other businesses that kind of opened during 2020. And I think it was these people that just took a step back for a second and thought like, okay, what's really important? What do I need to do to, for my well-being and my health and providing and kind of all that stuff. And I think it's something different that I think people maybe didn't expect to come during that time period.
Well, I think that's just additional reflection of like what really matters. That's what I've like at a, 10,000 foot scale. That's what I've been noticing is like, everybody's just like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I spending my time doing this? Like, this doesn't matter, or this does matter. And so just diving into that, I think has been, it gives me kind of like a renewed sense of faith in humanity of like, oh, we do all have souls that we don't want to die. Like, let's invest in those. That's good. So anyway, every business has its challenges. Right. And for me, like I'm most familiar with service-based brands because that's just the space I work in. But for your company, you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. I'm curious to know some of the challenges you run into with Charcuter-Me because like you said, it's perishable. I'm really curious about like shipping and like how you source all your products and those relationships. So like, tell me a little bit about some of the challenges you run into running Charcuter-Me.
So being a small business, the biggest challenge that I've had, especially in the food space, which this was a new avenue for me. Like I said, I was in graphic design where I worked from a computer at my house, to, going through the rigorous health department, which is important, but tough in the city to start a business like this, to start any type of food processing, business. So just doing those things the right way started off being tough. And
like then the administrative pieces of it? Like,
yes. And
compliance.
And especially the health department too. Yeah. Like that during COVID, obviously everything is way more strict. So that was interesting to start. And that kind of leads into once, you find the space, then it's sourcing the products. And we've seen over the past 2 years, the cost
sourcing is hard, man.
It's tough. And especially as a small business, because in a lot of restaurants, you're able to use companies like Cisco or bigger brands, but you have this huge minimum to meet weekly to do that. And so you have to get creative as a small business to where can I shop? Where can I kind of look to? And thank God, this community in Milwaukee and I am involved in this Let's Talk Women, which is this great female food and bev business owners group. We have monthly meetings to talk about this stuff specifically because we are all in a lot of these positions where we're not this huge restaurant chain that we can meet $1,000 minimums a month. So we all kind of talk about going in with each other if it comes to buying in bulk, at different.
That's amazing.
So that was actually the topic of conversation in one of our last meetings was just like, hey, if you need this and you need this and we need it in the month, why don't we just buy it in bulk and then kind of divvy it up just so all of us can kind of get it at a better price. Right. So it's all literally the community factor. And it sounds, cliche to some people like, oh, your community. I'm like, no, actually
no, but that's amazing.
It's incredible.
And just to interrupt and piggyback for 1 second, just a note to anybody listening, don't forget to think about those creative problem solving opportunities. And that, I love that you guys are all in the food space, but you're collaborating instead of quote unquote competing. And what is possible when we, take that mindset instead. So sorry, go ahead. But
yep, no, awesome. Absolutely. And, there's the local community one that I was just talking about where there's a couple other charcuterie companies in kind of the greater Milwaukee area other than myself. And so we've chatted before, I held my first vendor event and I didn't know where to kind of how to start and where to get somebody up in Cedarburg, was Franny's Market. I'll give her a shout out because she was amazing. Gave me a rundown, yes, there's competition, but there's room for everybody. Sure. And if we all work together, we can all succeed during this time that is just so uncertain if we can or not. Why not empower us to all these women to just do better and be better? Now we can all exist somewhere and that's fine. Yes. And so it's been this community. There is this community. It's a crazy cheese community, charcuterie world. I'm in on Facebook,
a cheese community.
It is. There are women.
There is. Of course there is.
It is wild. And there are women, that are doing what I'm doing all over the country. And I mean, all it is them talking about kind of pricing and how you do certain things and just kind of collaborating with each other with how to make this easier and to make, to help each other succeed. It's unbelievable. So getting creative with that, it's something I at first wouldn't have thought of, but those things is what, those items is what I started with. And, obviously when it came to sourcing at first, given I couldn't make huge, large orders, I would just go to the local. I mean, and it's tough. I go to, the Trader Joe's and the grocery stores, and produce is so tricky to work with because it's, and especially now, given everything, you never know if produce is going to be good or not. It's just been, it's such an ebb and flow. I'm really excited when there's green grapes at the store. You know what I mean? Cause they're not always there. And it's just, you're so grateful when there are, these things. But there are also local purveyors. I was on LinkedIn, for example, and I, obviously had my Charcuter-Me up there, and Boar's Head which is an obviously well-known brand, has a purveyor here in Milwaukee area. And they reached out and they said, would you maybe like to try our products? So we don't have minimums and we can deliver right to you. And I thought,
when?
Are you kidding me? And since then, I mean, I don't use them for obviously everything, but for a large portion of my meat and cheese selection, I use them because they were willing to work. Boar's Head, who you can find in, Sendix and everything else. Sure. But they were willing to work with me. Yeah. And I make consistent orders. It's just not the high ones that, a lot.
But that's huge. And also kudos to them for realizing the opportunity and the need.
Yeah, exactly. And I tell them that all the time, and they're just so supportive. And I know there's other companies like them out there that this is the one in my space that I need. And that's working for me. But I'm so grateful that they took it's kind of like taking a chance on a little small business and hoping I place orders weekly. And, some weeks are bigger than others because it ebbs and flows. Again, it's not consistent, but they're willing to stick with me. And it's been a great partnership. And so that came out of marketing on social media, so it's just getting creative in this space is, I think, what all of us have kind of had to do to survive in this kind of environment right now.
So when it comes to running this business specifically, because I think what you're doing is, again, you're amazing at what you do, but it comes with a lot of really unique challenges. So you talked about when you were first getting started, you just kind of do the one-off platters and et cetera, but now you've started to build some of these partnerships. How are you determining or finding additional partnerships or purveyors or, sourcing partners to, build like your large grazing tables and all that kind of stuff? How are you going about those partnerships?
So I will say since the beginning, word of mouth has been the biggest kind of source for knowledge of the company and things like that. I have a great sister who is very connected within the community, and she knows a lot of people and is just very good at connecting. And I moved away for like 8 years. I'm from here, but moved away to California, and I moved back in 2018. And so when I came back, I didn't know people anymore. I grew up here, went to school here, college, but I just didn't really know anything. So thankfully, like I said, I have this great family unit, and very much so was able to kind of re-immerse myself within the community, which is so good, and meet people and join groups like this, Let's Talk Women, and everyone refers to everybody. It is unbelievable, the community in Milwaukee, and I'm sure the communities, around the country are like this too, but it's especially special here, I found. And I've been an advocate in Milwaukee, my whole life, ever since when I was living in California. I just talked all about Milwaukee all the time, but just speaking with them and getting out there, and obviously social media and things like that. And it literally has just been meeting people within the community that
they're just like
has been a referral
connections,
system.
not necessarily like a plan.
Not at all. And I find it's funny because I joke about like, I'm a creative brain. I am very not type A. I am very, my mind goes all over the place. That's why I'm very grateful to, my sister and other people, that I have very part-time employees who kind of can keep me on track with the organizational part of things. And so that, I've always kind of prided myself in, I can talk to a wall. My parents joke that I can talk to a wall, like that I can just kind of talk to anybody, that I have that ability. And I'm grateful for that, because it's allowed me to I'm not afraid to, go out and when networking or, just being at an event and asking people questions. That's a learned thing, I think, as I've grown up and kind of gone to therapy and really learned about myself and become self-aware, that a lot of us don't listen enough. And I think if you ask the right questions to people, and I found that just asking people questions, that'll they could say one thing and all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's the connector. Like there's,
exactly. Like listening to what they aren't saying.
It's like the art of networking too. Like that's what I've kind of learned too. It's just, and connecting with people, and then they'll remember you and who you are, and that you actually cared about them. And in turn, it's amazing the connections that they can bring to you, and vice versa.
You were just talking about how much how close you are with your family and your sister. I'm going to give my sister a shout out real quick. My sister Paige, I don't know anyone who's ever met Paige that isn't like, oh my gosh, I love her. And one of the things she does so well is she listens so well, and she's so good and like genuinely interested in like everyone she meets. She's one of two ways. She either like meets this 5% of people where she's like, I hate you and we're never going to be friends. Don't talk to me. Very like slim, like that doesn't happen often, but everyone else, she's like, I'm fascinated by you and I'm going to ask you a million questions. And then everyone leaves the conversation. They're like, oh my God, I love Paige. And it's like, well, yeah, that sounds about right. Cause she listens, cause she cares, cause it's like genuinely building relationships. And like, isn't that the foundation of business?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I actually, when you're saying that about your sister, that's so funny. Like because there's this like anecdote of like a person going to a party with a friend and they don't know anyone at the party. And at the end of the party, everyone was like, oh my God, I loved that person. And they're like, what's their name? And like, I don't remember their name, but I love them because that person asked everybody there questions about themselves, because people like talking about themselves, but they didn't know anything about this person yet. They said that was their favorite person they met at the party because they asked questions and they were interested in people. Yeah. People like talking about themselves and they like people who are genuinely interested in them, because it's just not that normal anymore. No. People, like sometimes people just talk to talk and you're just like, okay. And so it's tough. I'm guilty of it too. I try, and it's like I said, it's learn it, and you just got to keep working at it. But I've found that that's a really important quality to have to kind of make connections and keep them.
And I think COVID has made it even more challenging because I don't know about you, but I know for me, and I've talked to a number of friends, like, it's like, I think I'm a social person, but I forgot how to socialize. And it's like trying to get back on that bike and not fall off. And so I think it's just things that we're, experiencing as humans, as flawed, holy humans, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to touch on your family for a hot second. So I know you've got family involved in running the business, and everybody has like different schools of thought. I'm like, don't go into business with your family, or like go into business with your family. And then you have family owned businesses. So what's been your experience in terms of running your business with your family?
So it's been great. Overall, it's been great. It obviously has its challenges. You're right, because it is, family it's tough sometimes with different personalities and things like that in your family. Sure. And when you're, running it, whose roles are what and where they get kind of melded and things like that. So there have been, the challenging moments, but honestly, especially when I first started, my sister had the ability to, she was furloughed at the time, and, really, as so many people were, it was so relatable. And she's like, I have the time to help you. I want to. I'm good at this organization part. And I know that you kind of like the creative stuff and to stay away from that. So let me help. And, she's now employed, but it has consistently helped me with admin and business development and things like that, which is nice kind of transition for her. But still to this day, and as we started, my boyfriend's doing deliveries, my brother's helping with deliveries, my mom's packaging crackers, when they can, my friends, still are helping me at events. It's just because they support this. And it's tough to be an entrepreneur because you're, I remember first becoming an entrepreneur with my graphic design and thinking, oh, so like I have to generate my money. Like, it's not just coming to me. Like I have, that's
it's all on you.
Is. Oh yeah.
It's all on you.
I'm not just getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. Like, okay, like I got to figure out how to do this and, how to make it work. Cause it's tough, rewarding, but tough. So my family and from social media and kind of spreading the word about it, it's just overall, it was overwhelmingly unbelievable. I have a very large family. I have, step siblings and their, sister-in-laws and everyone has just to the nth degree kind of supported the process. And it was funny because with my graphic, I've been an entrepreneur and I've had my own business, but Charcuter-Me was a tangible business that my family, could see happening, and I'm back in Milwaukee. And so it's kind of, it was something easier for them to help out on. And the second they were able to, they did. And it's just, I'm very grateful. I'm very lucky. I know that's not the situation in all families and whatever. And like I said, we obviously have our moments because we're a large family with lots of personalities, but it's been just like overwhelmingly, unbelievably supportive. I mean, even like I said, if I need a delivery an hour away, if one of my people can't do it that I employ, they'll, at the drop of a hat, one of my family members will help. So it's cool.
What would you say to anyone listening who is maybe in a family-owned business, et cetera, like the biggest tip that you would have in terms of working alongside family?
I think you have to set kind of ground rules to what are the rules. I think that can get blurry sometimes. And I think, and along with that there's going to be emotions involved because you can't separate. It's so tough to separate it because there's always going to be it. But at the end of the day, they are your family. So at the end of the day, you can have it's hard, but you can have constructive conversations with them and know they're still going to love you at the end of the day. So don't be afraid of having those conversations when you have to. I know I've had to have them. And it's all like a give and take, but you respect each other and you always love each other. And I think as long as you can have those honest conversations with your family and know at the end of the day that they're still going to have your back no matter what, that healthy relationship, then I think you can have a successful business. Cause I know it's just, there's resentment that can get built in with things. Yep. And I know and you try so hard with family, especially not, to avoid that. So I think honestly, as clear of communication as you can have, which is tough, but if you can do that, I think you can sustain a, successful relationship with your family and within the business.
Within the business. Mm-hmm. One thing I'm just curious about, when you talk about running the business and shipping and delivery, et cetera, how do you ship or deliver, or do you ship, or do you only deliver? Because I'm just in my head, I'm like, it's so pretty. I don't want it to get messed up. How does it get to the other point if I'm not picking it up?
Yeah. So I currently don't ship because
so that's the answer to my question. I was like,
yes,
how could you do it?
Trust me, I have tried. We have kind of test shipped to some people that we knew up in like Green Bay because it was it was like within a day shipping, and I just saran wrapped, you know what I mean? But it's hard because you're right. This board I'm making, one obviously has to taste good, but people are buying it because of how
it's
looks.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
Thanks. And like, but that's what's selling it. And I've had it's kind of like a never ending kind of quest and question in my head because it's really tough to do that. Like if I saran wrap it, it won't move, but it doesn't look as good. If I put it in a cellophane bag, you have to, drive really slow because we do offer delivery. We do to the greater Milwaukee area and beyond if you're really nice and ask. We'll do that too. It just depends, but it's just driving slow. I joke about, how people have like the kid on board, drive slow or something like the
charcuterie on
the
board.
Back. I'm like, can I make like a cling for the back of my car? That's charcuterie on board, make slow turns.
Yes, that would be amazing. Charcuterie on board. You would make a lot of friends that way.
Probably. I hope
it's like a flashing sign that says like, I have snacks. And they're tasty. Like exactly. Like I would follow that car in a really non-creepy way. Like, you have snacks. Okay. I love snacks.
So so it's like, where are you going? But we offer delivery. So, I mean, we just try as hard as we can to kind of secure them. I just recently got boxes that are more the exact sizes I need to kind of fit the different size boards I have. So it's this constant kind of evolving, nature of that. But, not to spoil anything, but I've been trying to figure out the shipping element forever. We got some national attention last year, and
yes, you did. Good Morning America.
Yes, Good Morning America. It was crazy and awesome, but it had people all over the country. That's what kind of prompted the conversation in my head. Like, do you ship? I'm in New Jersey. Can you send it to me? I'm like, sorry. Like, if I figure it out, I'll let you know, because I know there are some platforms that do it, but I just don't. I like I said, the aesthetic is so important. I'm like, I just need to do it. So while I'm not going to be shipping fully formed boards, I have a shipping project in the works that I'm hopeful probably by the time this podcast comes out, like end of September, hopefully. It's a little delayed, but to kind of ship, and I can, I'm excited to talk about it. It's just, I haven't yet. Like a HelloFresh meets paint by numbers concept. So I'm sending you everything you need to make the board pictorially with a video and kind of shipping everything.
Like a DIY Charcuter-Me, but with the instructions to make it beautiful.
Yes. So essentially like, everything you need to kind of make it look like one of my boards, because that is the one way I think. And there's a video of me showing how to make it. And
yes, but this is so brilliant, because you know how many ladies are out there and they're like, how did Amanda do this meat swirl or this flour? Where did that go?
I'll talk all about the salami river and the salami rose.
Salami river and salami rose. Oh my God, I love it.
So this is an exclusive because I haven't talked about it yet, but that's going to be launching. So that was kind of my solution to shipping. So that's very amazing. Close to it.
You're making people's party dreams come true all over the country.
I hope so. That's the thing. And, it's funny because I thought of it when people asked about shipping and then kind of figuring out if this was the route I should go during the pandemic. And otherwise I've done workshops. Like that's one kind of arm of this business that took off, was teaching people how to make them. Because again, we're in this, charcuterie is having a moment. Okay. It's been having a moment for a while.
Definitely having a moment.
I hope it sticks around. I think in Wisconsin it will at least, but
the land of meat and cheese.
Exactly.
I think we're good.
Like it's not going
I think
anywhere.
We're good.
Exactly. So people, we're just very curious on how to do those little things. Like, I have all this salami. How do I fold it to make it look prettier? I have this like wedge of cheese. I'm not really sure how to cut it, and here's the thing. I am so happy and it makes me so excited to teach people how to do this. Because if you want to make one for a party that you have, awesome. I want you to have those tools in your toolbox to be able to do this. If one of the days you don't want to go to the store and buy the 17 things that I'm going to show you and tell you to use, then buy one from me. And I'm fine with that, but I want to encourage people to be able to make their own, because it is fun. It's a fun process and creative. And it's been so rewarding to have people even like the girls, I have a couple part-time girls that work for me to send me pictures of a charcuterie board they made just from like picking up how to do a couple things, and just makes the board look so much, so much more elevated because of a little tip I told them to do. And I say that in my work.
It's like, Mom, look what I did.
Exactly. And I say that in my workshops. I say, if I can teach you one thing that you take away from this, like one thing that you're thinking about when you make your next board, like my job is done, and I'm happy to have done that. So amazing. That's kind of what the shipping thing will do. So
I love it. And I love that mentality because, again, we talk about collaboration versus competition. And, some people might look at that and be like, no, why would you do that? But it's ultimately, I'm sure it's going to be a positive business move, and it's going to open up so many doors just by having that mentality, because you build that trust, you build that relationship. So I love that. What, if anything else, are you working on now? So you've got the shipping coming soon, making party planning dreams come true all over the country. Like what else is next for you?
So it's funny because I did this, and I think like if you being an entrepreneur probably know too, you launch it and you do it. And I'm like, I don't know
like, what am I doing?
I'm going to throw everything at the wall and see and I'm doing it. And it's so fun. Side note, talking to, other businesses about that. The kitchen I'm in is we turned it into a shared kitchen space. I ended up taking over that kitchen I started in, and we turned it into this space, and there's like 4 of us working out of there now. And one of them's a little newer, and she's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I said, none of us do. Okay. Like we're all figuring it out together.
Yes.
You just got to literally just try everything out and see kind of what sticks. So when I started, I'm just like, I feel like there might be a need in the community. I'm going to see if this works. And we just had our 2-year anniversary, which is amazing. And we're still kind of full steam ahead. And you're right. It's been an ebb and flow because I started it. And then now that it's still kicking, I've had to kind of ebb and flow, as everyone has, around, what people are comfortable with during COVID, what they're not. And so I've kind of crafted what I offer around that thought process. And it's starting to come down to, at this point, I'm honing in on the things I like. I think the shipping is the next step for me.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I think that is a great, and like I said, when people order it, you'll see within it, obviously my branding background, like it really kind of lends itself to it. And that's why I love it so much, that element. But I really have been thinking about what's next. I've had potential offers for storefronts. I don't think that's the direction I want to go.
Okay.
Again, being an entrepreneur, if we create this life to hustle hard and create this life for ourselves, and that life includes, I want that flexibility a little bit. I want to still be able to travel when I can't, I want to be able to start a family and have the flexibility, it's just a lot of things in that part of my personal life that I am holding on to so hard. So it really factors into how I think the business is going to go.
Good for you though. Good for you. And anyone listening, I want you to hear that too. Good for you, because there's so many different ways that we could grow. We can scale. We can say yes. We can say yes. We can say yes, that are not in alignment with what we ultimately really want. So good for you for setting those boundaries and saying like, yeah, thank you, but this is not right for me. And I'm going to do it this way because that is the way I want to grow. Like, so just good for you.
Thanks. That's really nice to hear. It's tough sometimes because it's such a different entrepreneurial world is so different from what, our parents with the 9 to 5. That's why it was so tough. I think for my parents, when I first started,
they have no idea.
They just couldn't quite grasp, and it wasn't their fault, but they couldn't quite grasp that I wasn't going somewhere from 9 to 5 every day and then coming back. Like it didn't.
And then getting someone to hand you a paycheck every 2 weeks.
Exactly. Like it didn't quite make sense to them. And so, obviously it's been years now that I've been, showing them that this is the whole new world. And obviously there's so many entrepreneurs now, and it's just this small businesses and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm glad that more people I have, in my orbit that are like that. And I'm 30, I'll be 36 next month. I have like all these other entrepreneurs, and I wish it was funny because they're like in their early 20s and they're graduating college, and they're like, I want to start my own business. I want to go for it. And I'm like, go for it. Do it. If this is how you want to craft your life. I wish 10 years ago I had the, toolbox. I didn't at the time have the toolbox to, do that, but I'm so glad that I do now, that I do now, but I'm so glad for them. Like, go hustle hard and create your, this life you want for yourself. And so that's what I've been trying to do. And with that, I think, my idea what I've started in Milwaukee, with workshops and grazing tables and kind of, I do daily items and things like that. I would like to potentially take that to other cities, kind of expand outside of Milwaukee, but the same concept, so that with the shipping, I think is where I would like this to go. And kind of the kitchen we work out of, like I said, is a commercial kitchen. It's not a storefront. We have a pickup window, things like that, but it's not a place where, I would pre-make things. I would rather do it, you pre-order, you make it, or these bigger events for, we do like law firm events and, kind of just corporate events and different things like that. Like bulk orders is kind of where it's led to. And I like where it's leading to. And I think if we can just ramp those things up, I'm very happy with
camper.
Yeah. It's been great. Yeah.
I love it.
Thanks.
Amanda, as we wrap up here, my last big question for you is, what is your greatest insight or discovery about life and entrepreneurship?
Oh, my biggest insight or discovery. That's a really good question. I think I'm like, I kind of touched on a little bit. I'm so grateful for what it's allowed me in my life. It's really tough. It's tough. It's really tough to make the decision to kind of go out on your own, and to hustle to a point where, it's nobody cares about the business more than you do. So you have to work harder than anybody else. At the end of the day, you have to get it done if somebody else isn't going to do it. And there are really hard days sometimes with that, and knowing that you're supporting yourself. And like, I kind of touched on a bunch of times that, the money that comes in and the connections I make are all on me. I have, if I'm not doing it, people care, but not as much. So it's such a rewarding life to be an entrepreneur. It takes a lot of work, but it's so worth it. And I just got a message, for example, from someone I went to high school with who asked, she wants to meet up because she wants to start her own business. And she's like, I know that you have two businesses. If you would be willing to sit with me, I'm really, really scared and I don't know what to do. And I was like, absolutely. Like, I want to be here to encourage people to do it. Yes. It is scary, but it can be so worth it. And oh, yeah. And I think I never knew it was a possibility. I never knew this was an option for my life. This is not where I thought my life was going. I went to school for broadcasting. I wanted to be a news reporter. And all of a sudden I have my own charcuterie company. And like, it's just, don't let things stop you. Like, I always want to tell people, like, you hit these roadblocks and it's like, okay, well, I graduated a week before graduation. I realized I didn't want to be a journalist. And then I went, what am I going to do? And I networked and I talked to people and I got a job that was in marketing and e-commerce, and that led to graphic design. And then, the community aspect led to me starting on my own. And it just, you never know. So don't be discouraged when what you think, and you think you're going to do doesn't pan out, because it's going to offshoot you in a direction that you probably had no clue. And then look where, you're going to end up. And I'm such a big proponent of just going with the flow and just kind of trusting in this whole process that, it's everything happens for a reason, and it's gonna work out in one way or another, and just don't get discouraged with it.
Yep. I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason too. Even though like really shitty things, I'm like, there was a reason for that. I don't understand it yet, but it's
easier said than done, of course. And, obviously little things, my boyfriend and I talk about that, like maybe these little things, maybe they weren't meant to happen, but they're little and insignificant, but the big things. And, I've gone through a lot of life elements that at the time, and, sometimes even now I'm like, what the heck? Like, what was it? But I'm like, I wouldn't be here if not for that. And that wouldn't let me here if not for that. So just
trust really the process.
Gotta look at that. It's trusting the process that you're going to end up where you're meant to be, and I think that's been the biggest hurdle, yet the best part of this kind of entrepreneurial life, but I'm so grateful and glad that it's led me here. So.
Well, so am I. And I'm going to speak for all the guests at my upcoming wedding. They are also excited that it's led you here to Charcuter-Me.
Well, I'm so excited. I'm excited for you.
Amanda, for everybody listening who is now like, where do we find you? How do they get in touch with you and Charcuter-Me?
So we have a website. It's www.charcuter-me.com. And so you can pre-order through the website. If it's confusing and you can't find what you're looking for, you can always contact us, and it comes to our email, and we'll get back to you regarding any questions you have. I am on the socials. I'm on Instagram is my biggest. It's at charcuter_me. So give us a follow there. That's kind of the best. Obviously, I love Instagram. I think our age group just likes it in general, but the pictures obviously kind of lends to itself.
They're beautiful.
The type of business I'm in.
It's like food porn. It's amazing.
I love it. So we're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. You can find us at Charcuter-Me. And I haven't quite I'm on TikTok, but it's not worth it because I can't quite grasp that concept yet. So
I can't do TikTok. I'm like, I'm done.
I feel like should be young enough still to like get it, but I just.
No, I'm with you. So. I'm like, it's too much. I have too many passwords to remember already. I don't need another social platform.
Exactly. I'm like, 35. I thought I'd be more like, up to date with stuff than this, but not a chance.
I'm not cool. I'm totally fine with it. I'm like,
I'm not cool either, man. I don't know when that happened, that shifted, but it's okay. It's all right. I'm fine with it.
Well, thank you so much, my dear. We'll make sure all of your info's in the show notes. For anybody listening who enjoyed the episode, please go ahead and leave us a review. And I'm excited to announce that we are actually starting quarterly workshops starting this November, helping small business owners define success for themselves and then build business strategies to help support that. So check that out at rixworkshops.com. Amanda, thank you so much for being a guest and lending us your time and lending us your talents and your tasty snacks.
Thank you so much. I had a really good time. Thanks, Kiley. Appreciate it.
To continue learning how to better build your business and make your vision a reality, subscribe to the Welcome to Eloma email list at welcometoeloma.com.